Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I hope you had a good Lord's Day. We got a great show for you today. Got a lot to cover. On Saturday, the Department of Justice decided to list an extensive set of names, 300 people, politicians, people tied with the government, people from big business, celebrities, even people that have been, dead for a very long time, like Marilyn Monroe is on the list. Is this a form of sabotage? Is this a form of muddying the waters so now the average American can't figure out who is a predator, who is a bad actor, and who is not? I don't know. You be the judge. The DOJ is now saying they're done, they're finished, there's nothing to see here, and yet we're hearing reports that there still are plenty, millions more files that are still not going to be released. And all of this, I can't stress this enough, is not going to go away. It is the elephant in the room that people can't ignore. Our leaders, the idea that our leaders are actually some of the worst people, even beyond our imagination, how evil and satanic they are. We're going to talk about it and much, much more today. The show starts right now.
Paul Harrell Program.
All right, here we go. Thanks for being with us. I just want to give you a quick reminder, just a little housekeeping. If you like what you hear, we would appreciate for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or X or whatever. Just we would ask that you do all of the things that a typical channel wants you to do because we are trying to grow as we bring people the news. So, yeah, on Saturday. Now, typically, this is no secret, when the government wants to release something that they don't want a lot of people to see, they'll typically do it on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday. They know that people disconnect on the weekend, they like to relax, and they are not necessarily checking the same news feeds that they might check during the week. Although I will say with the rise of X in popularity, I think that trend is changing. At least the idea of checking out for a weekend with the computers that we carry in our pockets is less and less of a thing, but I digress. This is typically a tactic that is done when the DOJ doesn't want people to see what's going on. So if that is the motivation, you kind of have to wonder, okay, well, what about this list do they not want you to see? And then you come at it from the other angle, which is there's a lot of people on this list, like Marilyn Monroe, who's been dead. When she died, I think Jeffrey Epstein was 9 years old. And you're like, well, why are they putting people like that on the list? And does this not serve to essentially sabotage any attempt at real accountability, the type of accountability, the accountability that people are clamoring for, which we are. We want accountability, and the lack of accountability, the lack of investigations only leaves the average American out there basically, we're hung out to dry, left to speculate about the people that are our rulers. The answer to the question, why do we vote for a politician who runs on a platform, says he's going to be accountable to the people like the platform, he goes to Washington, D.C., but then he comes back with all these excuses. And we think, well, Jeffrey Epstein's blackmail scheme, that might be a very big piece of this puzzle as to why the people of this country don't seem to matter, even though we're told every election cycle it's the most important election of our lifetime. Yeah, right. So, but there is no accountability coming, right? There's not even a glance in that direction. At least that's what I'm getting from the DOJ. You would hope that they would change course, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So again, on Saturday, let's go ahead and throw this up there. On Saturday, we had this story that came out of the names, a list of names. Is this finally it? Is this the real Epstein Files? Or is this are we finally going to get the scoop, if you will? So I first saw this from Aaron Parnas. The Department of Justice has sent over a letter to Congress outlining why it made redactions to the Epstein Files. And then the 6-page letter also includes a list of all governmental officials and politically exposed persons in the files. Well, you start to, click through this list, and again, at the top of the list, not coincidentally or coincidentally because it's alphabetical, it is, but it's one of those things where, fate seems to be at play here. Alexander Acosta, the DOJ official, former Trump labor secretary in Trump 1.0, that was in the was the attorney that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal. Allegedly, I believe the Miami Herald reported at the time that the sweetheart deal he was given in 07-08 was because he was told Epstein was intelligence and needed to back off. My, how that was a true statement. If there was ever a more true thing that has been denied, has been diminished, has been ignored, that report that Acosta said he cut him the deal because he was told that he was intelligence. But I mean, there's so many people on here. I mean, you just name it, there's so many people on here. By the way, Lindsey Graham is on the list. I don't think any of us are shocked at Lindsey Graham. But even if you're you've got people like I said earlier, Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if you can even see the list here, but I'm looking right at it. Marilyn Monroe is on the list. Okay. Yes, Barack Obama's on the list. Even somebody like Ron Paul is in the files because this is just about if you were mentioned in there. This has nothing to do if you were, one of the people sending a torture video to Epstein or one of the people talking, grape soda and beef jerky and cheese and pizza and, oh, do you have the cheese? Don't forget the cheese holders because we don't want the pizza to get damaged, so we're going to need the cheese holders or whatever they've said. So there's a lot of familiar people on this list that we can look at and we can say, okay, yeah, I think that person is in deeper than others, but they just release all of it. And there's obviously a lot of people in here that are just mentioned in the emails that, have nothing to do with the crimes. And this is the key point. The crimes that the American people want to see prosecuted. We want these monsters prosecuted. We want to know the specifics of what they did, and we really don't care what the ripple effects are. Okay, we really don't care what the ripple effects are. But instead, this list of just saying, see, we did it, and we're not going to release any more files. Oh, and by the way, we have no plans on prosecuting everybody. I mean, they literally, you had Todd Blanche 3 weeks ago when this all came out. He said, we're releasing all the files, and he releases them, and then they said, are you going to prosecute anybody? And he says, what do you mean? Basically gaslights and says, well, if we have any evidence, but we're not, there's no plans to do it. So the American people are just left, holding the bag. We're the ones that have to investigate it. We're the ones that have to investigate it, and we are investigating it. And then you have people on the internet, and you have some stuff out there that will go viral, which I think is an easy psychological operation. If you have something that's not quite true, go viral, and then somebody says, or Grok says, hey, this isn't accurate, this is the fake screenshot or whatever, and then you can cause your average person to just completely lose interest and say, oh, well, it was fake. So then you look, you see the next outrageous thing. Oh, I don't know, from an FBI email per se, which we have that, where an image is blacked out, but there's a description of the image, and it's clearly a description of a rape that is occurring with a prepubescent child with multiple men, and that hasn't been investigated, and we're being told that there's nothing to see here, that we're not going to arrest these people, we're not going to prosecute these people. It's just absolutely disgusting. So Maria Z over in Australia, she says, this appears to be a mishmash of names that includes any person mentioned for any reason without giving away the names of the ones actually committing the crimes. Again, a form of sabotage in terms of accountability. It's to muddy the waters, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, you may think I'm making too big of a deal out of this, but that's the way I see it. And then we had these reports on Saturday as this list was released you had some reports saying that the DOJ had plans to release the 3 million more files that we don't have. So we've been given 3.5 million or something, but apparently there's millions more that they still have that they haven't released. And Alex Jones, he was out on X over the weekend saying that he was told that there was a meeting with Trump and the cabinet officials, and Trump was furious. According to Alex Jones, the word has finally reached the president that this isn't going away, and people are disgusted by what they're reading, and people want real accountability. And so Trump says, I don't care, release it all, release all of it. That was what the report was. But now the DOJ, they didn't do that. They did not release the millions more documents. And the DOJ is now saying that they have released all of the documents. Do I have that? I saw this several places. It says the Department of Justice has announced that it does not plan to release any additional Jeffrey Epstein files to the public beyond what has already been published. So that's it. Open and shut case. Nothing to see here. And yet there are millions of documents that people are going to... This is why... The reason it's not going away is because... And I think this goes hand in glove with people, the people in the Trump administration that are not being honest with their boss. Just in my opinion, going through, we're going to see the slow trickling out of all of these files because it's millions and millions of documents, and you've got all these people that are researching, trying to figure out what's going on. So you're going to continue to see this trickle out at least for the next several weeks. Likewise, Trump is depending on... Trump's not sitting down and reading 3.5 million documents. He's trusting on the people around him, like Susie Wiles, to say, what's in there? How bad is it? Who's implicated? And so far, most of what we get from Trump is, well, he's not implicated because he didn't go to the island and there's proof of that or whatever, and we get really nothing beyond that. At his base, the people are clamoring. And again, it comes back to this question. Why is our government so corrupt? Why, over my entire lifetime, has our government become more and more corrupt? Why do people get caught at the higher-ups and nothing ever happens? Okay? And then we start to hear 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you start to hear about little St. James Island. You start to hear about this guy named Jeffrey Epstein, and you start to realize, oh my gosh, these powerful people have blackmail on each other to preserve their power structure. And it's not just politicians. The politicians are the puppets for these people, like Epstein. So the story goes. But it's not a story anymore. That's the thing. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It is a proven conspiracy to essentially set up a Hunger Games-like government, or essentially just going back to serf lord, a medieval. Like, we're going back to serfdom. The road to serfdom. The road back to serfdom. And the big ugly secret is that we've been that way for a very long time but haven't known it, which is actually an even more insidious totalitarian version of government, where the people walking around think they're free because they get to go, spend $9 on a coffee from Starbucks, but they're really not free. The events are real. The reasons behind them are not. And they're actually in basically some sort of glorified capitalistic labor colony. And now that you know what I'm saying? Like, that's way worse. People that think they're free, that think everything's fine. And so the cat is out of the bag, and people are demanding more. And I think a lot of people know how evil it is, know that there is a satanic component to this. If not, that's the whole thing, right? Because ultimately, we have the physical manifestation of what's going on in the spiritual, one a shadow of the other, or it's obviously these people, if you go read the emails, are in the snare of the devil. And many of them know they are and are perfectly happy where they're at and are actively choosing to harm children in a cosmic war against the God of heaven. That's what you read here when you get into this stuff. So, I mean, I want you to take a look at this. So here's an Epstein email. Okay, this is what I was referring to earlier. Here's an Epstein email that was released in the files. I believe it's from the FBI. So you see there's a blacked out image here, right? This is there's a description of what's going on here. Okay? It says, while media stories have stated that Epstein and Maxwell's victims were mostly teenagers, there is evidence that suggests that they also abused younger girls. And in this photo, the description of what is redacted above, which I'm glad it is redacted because the description is obviously this is an image of a sexual assault. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but it's a photo of the description says that photo above is a photo of a prepubescent girl. Several Caucasian men are holding the girl, her legs spread open, and she's bleeding, she's bruised, and these men, and this is what I take from this. Okay, if you read the description, it turns your stomach. It's like, grab the pitchforks, let's go. These men are still walking free, as far as we know. The men in the photo, who we don't know who they are, I think one of the guys' names is Mike, first name Mike. They're walking free. Our government has had this evidence, likely to use as blackmail on whoever the people in this photo are. Our government has had this evidence for years and has done nothing to go after these men. And people want us to care about the midterms. Oh, be worried about the midterms. Be worried about the Republican-Democrat dichotomy, the different sides, the R and the D. You guys have you have literally no idea what this is doing to average people. What reading this is doing to average people. I mean, let alone the conspiracy theories that have already been there since the Podesta emails leaked in 2015 and 2016. Like, that doesn't even, I mean, yeah, those people are proven right. But, I mean, you got mainstream people saying, oh, I think we owe the QAnon people a giant apology. I think Bill Maher, of all people, said that. So this isn't going away, and you can be mad that the Democrats are, going to exploit this, that, or the other. When the Democrats are obviously just as compromised, if not more so. I would argue more so than the other side. But when it comes to donors and where all of these strings, where all these data points lead, I said from the beginning, when President Trump, this didn't have to do with Epstein. It really has to do with everything, Russia collusion, all of it. I mean, but Epstein would be under this umbrella. I said from the beginning, January of 2025, I said, if the president wants to win the midterms and never have to worry about an electoral loss again, all they have to do is indict Republicans and Democrats. Go wherever the facts lead. And it will show, regardless of what the media says, it will show that you are trying to restore law and order, regardless of donor or party affiliation. And if you do that, you'll never have to worry about another electoral defeat again. But if you don't, then they're going to do exactly what they're doing now. And this is really basic stuff. It's like politics 101 if you think about it. But it also just shows you there's information out there that people don't want to admit to. I'm not talking about Epstein. I'm just talking about leverage. That's what I'm talking about. So you've got this FBI email describing a crime, describing an image. Those men are still walking free. And then we have Congressman Tim Burchett that goes on Benny Johnson's show and says, it talks about the remaining Epstein files. Okay, the remaining Epstein files, the Epstein files that are still behind the Iron Curtain. And this is what he says. Take a listen to this.
Comparison And if you're offered an opportunity to view the pictures or read the files, this stuff that is in these files makes all that pale in comparison. And if you're offered an opportunity to view the pictures or read the files, I I would seriously consider not doing that.
Yeah.
Because it will haunt you, this stuff that's in there. And here's the problem. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, these files have been out there forever. And I've said this many times. If they had the goods on Trump, that the Obama administration slash the Biden administration, because it never really changed hands. They would have had that stuff out there. And this stuff just goes so deep, Benny, and it is very disgusting to me. And, it's evil, it's satanic, and it's from the pits of hell, and that's where these people will end up.
Okay, evil, satanic, from the pits of hell. A congressman who has been able to go and look at some of these files, and the unredacted portions of them, is saying that if we did get a chance to look at them, he's arguing that we shouldn't because it would destroy some of us. Meaning we just wouldn't have it would wound us mentally. It would wound us psychologically. It would wound us spiritually to read about or see some of the great evil. The Bible says about us in our fallen state, that we're inventors of evil. To be able to see this stuff, he's saying it would keep you up at night. You would not be able to sleep. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, how bad could it be? I honestly don't want to know. Although I would know if I knew it went to accountability. But I mean, you compare the email that we just talked about. It's worse than this. It's worse than this. And yeah, we have the other emails where there are the allegations of human sacrifice and dead infants and cannibalism. We have those emails too. But like if you read what they did to this prepubescent girl here, and you think that the stuff on the other side that Congress people can go see, and then you think about allegedly the millions more documents that the DOJ now says they're not going to release, and you think, number one, we have men without any chests running our government. We have cowards, okay? Cowards who are telling themselves, well, we can't release this for national security. I really firmly believe that. Like, that's what they're telling themselves. This is we can't be honest with the American people and let them know who their rulers are because it's national security or whatever. Or the economy will collapse, like Pam Bondi said. We talked about that on Thursday. The Dow. Let them eat Dow. But we have people who are ruling us who are cowards, or they're in on it. I mean, it's really one or the other. Take your pick. You're either a coward, don't want to speak truth to power, don't want to stand up, don't want to do the right thing, want to consign these people to get back in power again. They will have no incentive to continue in their evil, according to the emails, satanic ways. Or you're behind it all and you're a participant, or they've got blackmail on you or whatever. I mean, we're just left here. It'd be great. Wouldn't it be great if we had a Justice Department and then a judiciary that would actually pursue the justice, and it would leave us little room, or the room would at least shrink to speculate about what the truth is? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be great? My goodness, even if they just went after a few of the obvious ones to cover up for other people. And I'm not suggesting that would be right, but they're not even attempting to do that. At least now. They're not even attempting to do that. To like even pretend that we want justice for what happened. I gotta tell you, man, it is nuts, man. And again, it's just not going to go away, politically speaking, even though who cares? Who cares? Again, I will reiterate, who cares about politics at this point? if we're actually talking about justice and what they've done to children, and we're worried about the Democrats taking over. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I think that'd be horrible. But this is one of those, the whole left-right paradigm just cannot stay as a constructed entity, because the foundation now is of that whole game, of that whole theater is crumbling right before our eyes. When people want us to care about the midterms, when we have this is a huge. These are huge stories. And again, it's millions of documents. And people are going to continue. They're going to continue to reveal more and more about what's in there. The Department of Justice has announced that it does not plan to release any additional Jeffrey Epstein files to the public beyond what is already published. We talked about that. So, I don't know. Sound off in the comments. Tell me what you think about this, because I got to be honest, like, when the list was released and on Saturday, and the DOJ saying, "Yeah, oh, that's all, nothing to see here, folks. Here's the list. Here's the list of people who are." What did they say? What exactly did they say? They said, 6-page letter, all government officials and politically exposed persons in the files, and yet they put people like Marilyn Monroe on the list, and all that does is muddy the water. And just like Maria Z here says, they're giving you names, but they're giving you such a broad mix of names that it's difficult for the American people to figure out who actually committed a crime and who didn't. And that is just not honesty. It is. That's what's also really sad about it, right? Because they're going to claim this is part of us being transparent. What are you talking about? They'll even maybe say this is part of us complying with the Epstein Files or the Epstein Accountability Act. They may even say that. But is that really what's going on? Is that really honest? Is that really the truth? And no, our government is once again lying to us. And, you got to wonder, is what Alex Jones said true? Did President Trump finally tell everybody? And I hope it is true. I hope President Trump finally got word that this is a big issue. It's not going away, and he's mad about the way it's handled. Allegedly, he threatened to fire the entire cabinet if they don't handle this properly. I hope it is true. I hope we actually do get something. But I just have a feeling I don't think you're going to get that with Todd Blanche. I don't think you're going to get that with Pam Bondi. And I will just reiterate to you, the Pam Bondi testimony last week is totally indefensible. When you're asked about what is becoming this just giant tidal wave of people realizing who really has been governing us, the crimes that they are guilty of, and we get told that, well, the economy is doing good, so don't talk about it. The Dow is doing good. That's just an immoral argument. On its face, it's an immoral argument. But it's really good DC speak, because a lot of the morality or the principles that somebody may have when they get to DC, with enough money and contributions, they care a lot less about what the people back home think. And that is the entire problem here. That's what we're talking about. We're going to reset. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we got a special guest here in a minute. We're going to, when we come back from break, and I know this is unconventional for this show, but when we come back for break, have you ever wondered what it's like to date, to try to find a wife in this day and age? What if you lived in Portland, Oregon, and you're a conservative? How difficult would it be to find a wife? I'm going to tell you about that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This is the Paul Harrell Program.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order, verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. So Saturday was Valentine's Day. A holiday. Is it a holiday? I don't know. Whatever. It's a day of the year that I will just honestly say is something that me and my wife, when we were dating and when we got married, we've been married now for 18 years or about to be. I don't know the exact number. I think 18. We just were like, Valentine's Day is exhausting. We're like, we just gave up on it. Like, this is dumb. We're trying to hold ourselves to these dumb standards, you know. But we love each other, and we don't have to do the whole Valentine's Day thing. It's just ridiculous, too much pressure. So I'm grateful, guys. I've got a good one because I think it was my idea, and she was like all on board with it. There's a lot of women out there that are like, no, I want Valentine's Day or whatever. But anyway, and the fact that Saturday was Valentine's Day, though, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine from the northwest portion of this country, Matt Troy, and we were having a conversation, and Matt was confiding in me about his, I guess, the wild world of dating in Portland, Oregon. And Matt joins us now. Matt, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate you doing the post. It's almost better. We talked about doing this prior to Valentine's, and then I thought, well, we couldn't fit it in, but it's actually good post because I guess just the stories just add up here in the Northwest. But
you're based out of Portland. You're an eligible bachelor, and but you're in Portland, man. Like, so how is that? Like, I don't even know, man. Like, do you have to like mask up? Like, do you have to pretend to be a liberal? Do you have to like put on like patchouli perfume before you go on a date, or cologne, I guess?
I actually lived in the real suburbs of Portland where, once my children were coming home and telling me that they were told they were inherently racist and things like that, which, my household, we are, I put "be kind" in their lunch boxes every day in their little notes. And, this is a very loving, kind, family-oriented family here. And I send them to a school and they get told they're inherently racist and all these things. So I researched the only Republican mayor city in the Portland metro area, which was Sandy, Oregon. And so I'm in Boring. So I'm out on acreage, I'm out here in the country, but it's still, it's slim pickings out here. It's really slim pickings. And I try to always keep an open mind and when you're dating, you have to be open-minded out here, or else, you're statistically, your online apps and on these things, and you have like this range of dating of, let's say, 30 or I usually don't like to go too young, but if you go real young, Out here, they're basically 100% liberal. So
yeah, there's no, you don't have any defense. I mean, they're literally, I mean, there's the brainwashing is really saturated at that age group.
And you can tell the indoctrination, the younger group because I can date, I'm at a weird age where I can go into my 20s, I can date 30s, 40s, that whole range, 20s, 30s, 40s, late 20s. You notice that because they're on their phones and they are indoctrinated with the left and the TikToks and everything that's controlled by the socialist, and the Communist Party. They're really getting to them that way. And also they're a little bit younger and more naive and dumb, that kind of thing. So, but look, I don't like to make generalizations. People are people, and I'm very fair and open-minded.
Well, what would you say what's an average, like you get a date with a woman from Oregon, Portland, you're on the right, you're definitely on the right politically. Yeah. Tell us some stories, man. Like, what's the craziest experience that you've had?
Well, I mean, just one recently, which brought up the one that we were talking about. I dated this girl for a couple months. I've tried not to talk about politics. You want to get to know who they are. And this girl comes over to my house, and I always have Fox News on. I fall asleep to it. I watch it or whatever. And so the 2 times she came over, first time she mentioned she saw Fox News, I knew she was leaned left. That's fine. She came over a second time and she saw Fox News and she sent me a text basically breaking it off, right? I mean, she loved how good of a father I am and such a good family man. And I've served my country and I'm loyal. I'm not a cheater. I've got values and all these things and I'm using air quotes here that align to would be you would think anybody that really loves those things would be with the right? I mean, look, I'm not like super crazy conservative here, but like these are the things that I value, and I just happen to be more with the right. Even back in the day, if you were, the Democrats had a lot of these values, like some strong border and all these things. So she knew this, and she sees Fox News, and she's like, I just can't deal with it. I can't deal with the Fox News. We never had one educated debate on anything, right? Like it was never like, okay, let's talk about this. So my response to her was, and I can just read it to you. You can see this is like me being very rational. I said, look, over time, I've simply just found myself drawn to the beliefs that emphasize personal responsibility, strong family values, accountability, which it just feels like that aligns more with the right these days, and just basic common sense. That said, I've never believed relationships should have political debates. I respect people of different views, faiths, and backgrounds because everyone is on their own path and journey. Even when I don't agree, I try to lead with understanding, which is what I teach my children. Teach them to be kind and good to everyone. No politics there, just love and kindness. I'm grateful the universe has brought you into my life, and I hope I've added more positivity than anything else, because you certainly have for me. I respect your feelings and your view and your decision. And I wish you and your family, she has 2 children, which was a big deal for her because she wanted somebody that would have family values to help raise her children. But
you watch Fox News, so you're out.
I wish you all the best. This person, after 2 months, did not even respond to that text. They're so disgusted by, and by the way, and I hadn't even ever brought up Trump. That's the Trump derangement syndrome is completely real. By the way, this woman's very picky, and she's been picky. And she told me how I'm the only guy that checked all the boxes. I'm into my health and fitness. I'm in my late 40s here, and I take care of myself, and that's a good role model for her children. And I'm going to always be loyal, and I have values and all these things. But yet somehow, because the indoctrination is so deep, the Trump derangement syndrome is so great that she's going to ignore all that and go through a bunch of scumbags, probably. I'm not trying to generalize, but I guarantee it's going to be a lot harder finding a liberal dude here that meets all those boxes. And so, I never got a response, and that's very telling to me. So on the bright side, that's just one story.
Well, you dodged a bullet. First of all, let's just take that first one and say, well, you dodged a big bullet there. And honestly, I don't even know how you go back out in the dating field, Matt, because, I mean, the odds are stacked so much against you living in that geographic area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that she would, she values. It's like she wants the benefits of strong families. Like she wants she all of these things are like we're essentially running off of the derivatives. Okay, we're running off of the derivative fumes of the I would say are the Christian ancestors that came before us that lived in just generally speaking better than we lived, and we're living off those fumes. And you want the benefits of that without actually having to acknowledge, where all of this comes from. That's just my 2 cents. But tell us about the second story.
No, you're right. There's a silver lining. I mean, think about it. It's like I sent that text, right? And there's no response. There's no like healthy debate or a discussion. It's just the derangement is so bad.
I'll add one more thing. I'll add one more thing. You're actually trying to treat the left in this situation, this other person, as a human being. Once she found out that you watched Fox News, you were less than human. And so we're at this situation, and this is kind of reflecting what's going on politically, where both sides really think they have the moral high ground. You're still willing to say, hey, I can treat another human being like a human being, and because they have a soul. The other side will just try to essentially totally dehumanize you. You're subhuman, you're sub-animal, you watch Fox News, and so I have the moral high ground. And really what it comes down to is well, I mean, ultimately, you take this to the logical conclusion, and when you devalue human life, we know it leads to violence on the left. But anyway, Go ahead.
Yeah. So, which brings me to my next date. There was a girl that I went out on one date with. Everything was great. Everything hitting it off great. I don't know how. It was around the Charlie Kirkus like maybe about a month afterwards. This was very long ago, and somehow we talked about, I think it was right around Martin Luther King, maybe. It's like the comparison or whatever to him about just, peace and love. And yet somebody who's a father gets killed. And she goes, yeah, but that guy deserved it. I actually wanted to get up when she said this. That guy actually deserved to die. And I had to take a deep breath. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, I'm actually sitting across the table from this person. Like, suddenly she became much more unattractive. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I honor Charlie Kirk? Like, what would Charlie Kirk say to somebody that actually said that he deserved to die? If he was alive, what would he do sitting right where I'm sitting? And I thought to myself briefly, I'm like, he would have actually had them let's not, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to be combative. What I said was, I feel like I did him justice here. I says, can you do me a favor? Because I want to know what you're talking about. I'm going to let's just pretend you're right, that he said some horrible things. Oh, I said, so what specifically was it? And she said, well, number one, he's just a racist. And I said, okay, racists deserve to die. Let's just say he's a Nazi, just like you say and think, and the left paints this guy out to be. Can you just go onto your phone right now? Just do whatever. I'll give you you have full access to the internet. Can you pull up one racist thing that guy ever said and did? Pull up what? Because, by the way, I've gone through Charlie Kirk stuff, and I've seen a lot of these. Like, he treated everybody. He didn't give. In fact, the left is racist the way they treat some of the African Americans and think that they should have a better, more time, or they should have some kind of how do I put it? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, there's some advantage to be able to argue with him, or no, everybody's equal. You give me your answer. Let's debate and talk it through. She couldn't. I said, no, please pull it up. She couldn't pull up one thing on the internet that said that could show that he was racist. So I said, look, here's the deal. When you make a comment like that and you have nothing to back it up, and you can't actually give me any proof that actually says, oh, here is a racist comment. Couldn't find one, couldn't do one. And she's like, well, I can't find it. I don't know. I know that, so this is what you've been told and you hear, but nothing is ever based on fact on the left. And this isn't right or left. This is right and wrong. You just said somebody deserved to die. Somebody deserved to die. And you don't have anything concrete to back up such a ridiculous comment like that. So, like, if we're talking about Adolf Hitler, and I could pull up really quickly, hey, the Jews, whatever it was, I mean, there's something concrete to back that up. Adolf Hitler deserved to die. He's a true racist. You got nothing. So with them, you have to play with you have to deal in reality and facts, and you can't be combative. And what they like to do is they'll scream. You see all the liberals screaming at the ICE agents. It's just complete irrational. So here's what I realized that we wrapped up the date really quickly, and I had to say to myself, look, there's two things that you cannot fix in life. You cannot fix stupid, and you cannot fix crazy. And also, you don't ever want to date or marry or procreate with stupid or crazy. That's just common sense. So the silver lining here is that I think that this is actually a blessing, guys, because I was thinking about it. I'm like, granted, it's tough because I have slimmer pickings here than if I was in like Texas or something. But the silver lining is had we didn't have this this society that we're in today, like, I don't know if I could weed out the stupid and crazy as quickly and as efficiently.
That's a good point.
That's
a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. Like, the politics are so divisive right now that you're not going to accidentally, you still could, I guess, but you're not going to accidentally marry somebody who's a crazy leftist, right? Because they're trained
right.
they're trained to project their fake moral superiority at all times, and so you're going to know that.
Right, but that comes out later. The craziness, usually, like, let's say 20 years ago, the craziness and the lack of common sense and all these things, it would be harder to discover that because you wouldn't have a good barometer like you do today with this. Like, if you tell me you voted for Kamala Harris, okay, fine, all right. Am I going to kill the date right now? No, but if I ask you, where she said she was the border czar and the border was secure over and over and over, and completely, she either was lying through her teeth, which the border with 20 million people pouring over, or she's just stupid, right? So, but you still would vote for that to run our country when the other option over here is the hardest working, like everything he's done well at, and he takes accountability and all these things. Like, I'm just curious why you would vote for that, and then usually you'll just get nothing but, like, nothing makes sense. I wish I could record these and then bring them on and play them to you on these dates, and you can hear it.
Yeah, hang on. Okay, yeah, you're welcome to do that, and we would definitely take that content. Maybe we should even start like a separate YouTube channel for some of that content. Matt Troy's quest for love, in a liberal hellhole. I don't know what we call it, but yeah, man, I think you're right though. That is an interesting take. It's a blessing in that the polarization means that, you're going to know real quick what you're getting into. Because you certainly don't want to get married to somebody that's like that. But I wish you the best of luck, man. I don't know how you do it. It'd be difficult to not get discouraged and demoralized living in Portland, but also, wanting to have the gift of companionship, wanting to have a wife, wanting to date, wanting to pursue something, and there being such a hard, I don't know, there just being such, like you said, slim pickings. So anyway, anybody out there listening, if you live in that area, here's Matt Troy. He's bachelor number one. He's the number one bachelor recommended by the show.
We could do a show. We could have a remember what's that old show they had back in the 90s? Or
Love Connection, right?
The Love Connect, the conservative Love Connection. You get the three conservative gals, or what would be fun is you get two conservatives and a liberal, and we don't tell them what show we're going on here.
Oh, that would be good.
See
I like it. I like it.
I try not to, just so you know, I don't lead with politics ever, and so the problem is you can't do that, right? Because that's just it's just religion, politics. You don't. But what I was thinking of doing was wearing my Trump yarmulke on these dates. I don't know. I wonder if that would weed them out pretty quick. And you see that?
I do. I definitely think that would have an effect, for sure.
Anyway, I actually started setting this Trump yarmulke out on the table because I don't want to actually have Fox News. It's kind of a boring thing. You're not going to turn that on every time. But if they see the Trump yarmulke and they balk at it, then I know that I just saved myself a political conversation.
Yeah, there you go. That'll do it. That would 100% do it for sure.
I'll get you one. I'll get you. This would look good on you. It actually looks better because I don't have any.
I'll pass on that. I'll pass on that.
You
but,
got a nice head of hair.
Yes, I do.
Somebody
yes.
gave that
I'm also
to me,
a Christian, so. But,
hey, by the way, that's true too. No, actually, a friend of mine gave this to me, and I've actually seriously left that sitting out. Now it's been sitting out. Anytime I have a girl or company over,
it's like a land. It's like it's like a landmine you've set out there. It's just like a test the waters. So I think that's pretty wild. Well, listen, Matt, I don't envy you in your situation, but I appreciate the update.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. And I just try to throw a little comedy. You gotta find the comedy in all of this, and there is a silver lining. And the universe will bring the right gal along at the right time. So, and I praise God for still it's beautiful. I'm in the Northwest. I'm healthy, and I've got my 4 limbs. And if the worst thing I can complain about is dealing with liberals here, then it's not the end of the world, you know.
I agree with that 100%. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, man. Be safe. We'll talk soon. We're going to have Matt on again in a different capacity to talk about red light therapy and Red Vive. But just to remind you, I'll just do this now. If you want life-saving red light therapy, I think it's life-enhancing, and I think it's also can prevent surgery. These are my words, but you can always go to redvivehealth.org and use the promo code Paul, and you can get these incredible red light panels. I've got one in my house, and it's just nuts. The healing power of red light. I want to talk about a guy by the name of Jeremy Carl before we go. I want to get through this, and I honestly don't even care if I go over, because I think it's very important. So let's start right here. Jeremy Carl, he is the author of the book, The Unprotected Class, and it's essentially about anti-white racism that is prevalent in our country today. So Jeremy Carl, this guy on X, Lomez, says that Jeremy Carl is one of the right's absolute best people, and he grew up in a Jewish family, got treated to hysterical accusations by a Democrat-led Senate panel over his supposed anti-Semitism and anti-feminism and racism. Jeremy Carl is a Christian. Okay, he has been nominated by the Trump administration for a post in the State Department, but he wrote a book called The Unprotected Class, and it's a very good book. And now GOP senators are getting cold feet because the Democrats are, trying to say that Jeremy Carl is a white supremacist. Again, no, he is somebody who is an intellectual thinker on the right. He is also a Christian, Jeremy Carl is. And he's actually incredible. I mean, he is. We need 1,000 more Jeremy Carls in our federal government right now, and the world would be a much better place. So here is the clip that made the rounds last weekend. This is Senator Cory Booker upset that Jeremy Carl believes in the Great Replacement theory. Listen.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying
that if what do you mean, Cory Booker? What do you mean you don't understand that? That's literally you guys. That's y'all's MO to embrace my Southern heritage. That's y'all's MO. That's what you do. And now you're gaslighting, like, you think that there's a plot to replace people of Western European descent and change the demographics and make the minorities the majority? You think that? I'm confused by this. This is totally disingenuous. This is the Democrat Party MO, as I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to prove it to you today.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority. What do you mean when you say...
That's not at all what he said. He says, no, I'm just talking about I'm not saying it weakens America, although you can make an argument for that, but that's not what Jeremy Carl said at all. What he's saying is, no, I'm just saying there's a plan, okay? And if you don't deny that plan, here's former President Bill Clinton.
In a little more than 50 years, there will be no majority race in the United States. No other nation in history has gone through demographic change of this magnitude in so short a time.
I mean, this is literally what they've been. They not only say that it's going to happen, they say that if it does happen, it's a virtue. Literally, the idea of white people becoming a minority in America, and by the way, there's plenty of white people that have bought into the whole white guilt thing to the point where the destruction of their own race or the destruction of their own ethnicity or whatever, however you want to call it, that is somehow a good moral thing. It's somehow a gift it's somehow the moral thing to do is to consign, yourself, your particular people group, which is essentially, just in this case, people that look like you, to some form of extinction, national extinction, and that's actually a good thing. That's what they do. So Elon Musk actually retweeted this post from William Wolf from the Center of Baptist Leadership about C.S. Lewis. Specifically, this was kind of in relation to this fallout of the confirmation hearing of Jeremy Carl. Again, he's been nominated to be in the Trump State Department. And so here is C.S. Lewis. A man's reasons for not wanting his country to be ruled by foreigners are very likely his reasons for not wanting his house to be burned down, because he could not even begin to enumerate all the things he would miss. And this is why the Democrats pushed against Jeremy Carl so hard, because of that very idea. The what you're talking about here is very hard to quantify in some instances. And so William Wolf says if C.S. Lewis had been asked by radical Senate Democrats to defend British culture and why it matters, this is probably what he would have said. Okay? So this has real-world consequences. We're not even talking about something in the abstract. You could have made the argument that when Bill Clinton said what he said, that we were having an abstract conversation. But now we're living in the here and now. We're living in the here and now where we have people in New York City that woke up for the first time, for some of these people ever, and hear the Islamic call to prayer blaring on the speakers.
Here is Atlantic. We are hearing Azan. Come here. I think we're diverting off the Texas stuff.
That's New York City. Residents in Manhattan are completely shocked to hear an Islamic call to prayer blasting on high-volume speakers as they walk down the street. So let's be clear what that is. New York City has been completely changed demographically and culturally now. This is something that you would expect to happen if you lost a war. Okay, New York City is not an American city anymore. Okay? Now, what does that mean? American? Well, America fundamentally was known up until, the left tries to, make people ashamed of who you are. America was populated mostly by descendants of people from Western Europe, which are white. They're white. And this is what they're, and so to recognize that is now considered racist. There are people that believe that. There are white liberals who are so uncomfortable. There are white liberals that are kind of, maybe they're not liberals. There are white people that are in the middle and maybe lean left, but maybe they have some right-wing friends. They are so scared to even admit that what people like Jeremy Carl have noticed and wrote a book on, The Unprotected Class, about white people, they're afraid to even say it because the idea of even recognizing white ethnicity is thought of as being somehow a sin against our own, against our own culture or whatever. Blasphemy laws. You could probably say that it's the new blasphemy law. It's not a question of whether to have blasphemy laws. It's a question of what kind of blasphemy laws are you going to have. And this whole thing is really very interesting. This is what Jeremy Carl said in response to the outrage of him being nominated as a State Department position. He says the phrase white culture doesn't appear anywhere in his book, The Unprotected Class. Between Grok and ChatGPT, I was able to find just a couple of parenthetical references to it in any of my written work, tweets, interviews, etc., which probably span 1 million or so words in total. I think it's a valid concept that could be used to describe much of mainstream American culture before the Hart-Celler Immigration Act, and I'm glad my testimony has sponsored some interesting discussions online about its usage. But it's certainly not language that I use habitually. As far as my answer to Senator Murphy, I am concerned with the majority common American culture that, particularly through mass immigration, has become much more balkanized. Senator Murphy attempted to grill me about white culture and white identity, which, according to ChatGPT, is also a phrase that also only appears only a few times in my work in the context of discussing toxic white identity extremism, which he condemns. The only treatment of the topic of white identity politics and the unprotected class is when I refer to it as being both tactically and morally inferior to a focus on the unalienable rights in the Declaration of Independence that all Americans should enjoy. So while Senator Murphy questioning me about white identity and white culture might have been the least dishonest part of the Democratic critique of me, it was still totally off the mark. And again, that's his book. Kill All, you see the spray paint there, Kill All Wits. How anti-white racism is tearing America apart. Jeremy Carl's exactly right, and he's being unfairly attacked from it. Okay? And so then you go towards, this is all happening at the same time. Jeremy Carl gets attacked. AOC is on an international tour abroad making an idiot of herself. Her last name is Cortez, and she doesn't know that Cortez brought horses to the New World. There's a whole cowboy comment. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying stuff like this, while at the same time Marco Rubio is in Munich trying to get Europe to abandon their madness and realize that we're trying to preserve what's left of the Christian West in the international order. Here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There's a very big difference between whiteness and national, like your actual culture, right? Whiteness is an imaginary thing. Being German is real. Being Italian is real. Being English. These are rich cultural heritages that are based on values, and they are so much a part of what make our cultures and our societies what they are.
She would never say that about it. Whiteness is imaginary. Whiteness is imaginary, she says. Glenn Greenwald, whoever convinced AOC that she had successfully completed her tutoring and was now ready to give book reports about foreign policy in public really should look for another line of work, unless the goal was to sabotage her. So she made some dumb comments on Venezuela. And then she talked about Marxism, but this is the one about the horse.
Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
You can't have cowboys without horses. And again, Cortez. Your last name's Cortez. The ignorance here is absolutely staggering. Horses came from Spain. A lot of people don't know that, but it's all really based. This whole thing is an exercise and based on coveting, the anti-whiteness that is prevalent, the Marxism that is spreading, under new forms of marginalized groups to exploit. It's important to keep in mind it is all based on going against the 10th commandment, and that is, thou shalt not covet.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. I think it's also important to note how thin that foundation is. Culture is changing. Culture always changed. Culture for the entire history of human civilization has been a fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest.
Material. Did you hear that? It's not about culture. It's not anything. It's not about families and people with a common ancestry and a common language and them continuing to exist and have children and families and so on and so forth. Go forth and multiply. No, it's more material. So it's based on coveting. It's based on covetousness is essentially what's going on. And I'm just telling you right now, that's what all of this is. That's what all of this is. This is all about competing for resources. This is all about figuring out how to steal without admitting that you just want to steal from other people. Whether it's their benefits, whether it's their wealth, whether it's their land, whatever it is, that's what this is. This is what this is about. Oh, that'll really trigger the left, by the way. Oh, this is on stolen land. That's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be back here tomorrow. We should have a full cast of characters for you. Co-host Rob Spencer should be back in chair number 2, and Eric Haynes should be back in chair number 3 for tomorrow. But it was just me solo today. Sorry I didn't mention that. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, 7 Weeks Coffee. Make sure if you go to 7weekscoffee.com, a portion of that bag, a portion of every bag sold going to go to pregnancy resource centers. And I'm telling you personally, I've seen it before. There's nothing, probably it's one of the best things, best responses to the killing of the unborn actually has been through pregnancy resource centers throughout this country. They really do good work. They save lives. You want to use the promo code Paul. You're going to save a little money, and you'll be helping support pregnancy resource centers across the country. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and make sure you enter the promo code Paul at checkout. And I also want to thank Sherrod Chiropractic. We cannot do this show without our sponsors, and so we really appreciate it. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. God bless.